Let me ask you something. What happens when a man finally stops waiting for her to come back and starts walking like she never existed? Not because he's trying to prove a point, not because he's bitter or needs to pretend, but because something in him just clicks. Something in him finally whispers, "That's enough." Out. Not in anger, not in frustration, just quiet clarity. You see, it's not a spectacle. There's no grand finale, no last call, no watch me move on speech. It's subtle. It's quiet. Shift that happens deep in the bones, after too many nights lying awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if he was ever really seen. He doesn't post about it. He doesn't tell the group chat. He just starts moving differently. His steps are quieter, but somehow firmer. His voice softer, but more certain. He doesn't wake up one day suddenly healed.
No, healing creeps in.
Slow, like the sun creeping through closed blinds after a long storm. One morning, he opens his eyes, and there's no ache. Not for her words, not for her love, not even for her presence. He just breathes. He gets up, makes his bed, starts the day, and for the first time in a long time, she isn't the first thing on his mind. That's when you know it's real. When he's not pretending to be over it, he actually is. Not because he found someone new, not because he got revenge, but because he finally found himself. He no longer walks like he's waiting to be loved. He walks like he already is, by the man in the mirror. And that version of him, that quiet, steady, unshaken man, that's the one she never saw coming. And by the time she does, he's already gone. Not lost, just free. Asterisk, the pain didn't break him. It carved him into something new. Took everything soft, everything fragile, everything unsure, and burned it down. But in the ashes, something solid began to rise. You see, there was a time when the silence was unbearable, when her absence echoed louder than any word she could have said. He used to sit in that silence like it was punishment, like it meant he wasn't enough. Like maybe if he had just done one more thing, said the right words, loved her harder, she would have stayed. But now, the silence doesn't scare him. It speaks to him. It tells him the truth he used to run from, that love shouldn't feel like chasing. That worth isn't proven by how long you hold on. He started to realize healing wasn't about forgetting her. It was about remembering himself. It was in the way he finally admitted that she left long before she physically walked away. In the way he could finally say, "I gave too much to." Someone who was only half in, and it stung. God, it stung. But that sting became strength, because the healing didn't happen all at once. It came slowly in waves. In small victories, eating without checking his phone, sleeping through the night without waking up hoping she'd text, walking past familiar places without feeling like he was bleeding inside. He didn't cover the pain up. He looked it in the face and let it teach him, and through that teaching, he became someone new, someone whose peace isn't tied to her presence, someone who doesn't crumble when left alone. He doesn't fear heartbreak anymore, because he knows now. The fire she thought would destroy him only forged him. What came out of that fire is a man built to last. Asterisk, he's no longer hungry for her love, and that changes everything. There was a time when her attention felt like air, when just a thinking of you message could reset his whole day. When her mood determined his confidence, when her love or the hope of it became the measure of his worth. But it was never love that fed him. It was dependency dressed up as affection. Deep down, he knew it. He just didn't want to face it. He mistook breadcrumbs for a feast because he was starving for validation, for safety, for someone to finally choose him without hesitation. But now, the hunger is gone. He doesn't check his phone for her anymore. He doesn't reread old messages trying to feel something. He's not searching for her in other people, because he's full nowed from someone else's love. But from his own, took all that energy he used to pour into her and redirected it back into himself, into peace, into growth, into becoming someone he's proud of when no one's watching and something incredible happened. The same man who once needed her to feel alive now feels whole on his own. She can text him now, and it doesn't shake. His world she can call, and there's no rush in his chest. The thrill is gone, not out of bitterness, but out of balance. He no longer needs to be seen to feel valuable. He's no longer waiting to be loved, to feel lovable. And that shift, that's what she never expected. She thought he'd always be available, always be waiting. Okay, but she's reaching for a version of him that no longer exists. Because this version grounded, whole complete, doesn't chase what once broke him. He simply nods, smiles, and continues on his way, unbothered and unshaken. Asterisk, he's not waiting for closure anymore. He's become the closure. There was a time when he couldn't sleep without replaying every detail, every word, every shift in her tone or energy. He'd lie in the dark dissecting moments, wondering what he missed, where he went wrong, what he could have done differently. He thought, if she would just explain, just give him that one honest conversation, maybe he could finally let go. But that conversation never came. Eventually he realized something deeper. The closure he was waiting for wasn't hers to give. It was his to claim. He stopped begging the past to explain itself. He stopped needing her to make sense of her actions. He started looking inward and asking the questions that mattered. Not why did she leave, but why did he keep staying after the love started to feel like confusion? Why did he shrink himself to keep her comfortable? Why did he allow silence to replace intimacy? Those questions didn't just give him answers. They gave him power. The kind of power that comes from facing your own patterns, from owning your role, from forgiving yourself. Now, when she reaches out, it's not him grasping for clarity. It's her trying to feel something familiar. What she finds isn't the same man. He's not lost in memory anymore. He's not hoping for a rewind. He's already written the ending, and it doesn't include her permission. He found peace not in what she could have said, but in what he finally stopped saying to himself. Hey, let go. Not with resentment, but with wisdom. And that kind of closure earned internal unshakable ease, the kind that lasts. Because once a man learns that he is the ending, the peace, the explanation, there's nothing left to wait for. Asterisk when she came back. It wasn't because she wanted to rebuild. It was because she missed the version of herself that existed when he loved her. She didn't return with a heart full of accountability.
Ow.
Returned with empty hands, hoping for the same comfort he used to offer without question. She missed the way he made her feel safe, wanted, adored. But she didn't miss him. Not truly. She missed the emotional shelter he built for her when she was too unstable to offer anything back. And this time, he saw it clearly. The version of him that once bent over backward to make her feel whole no longer exists. The man who used to apologize just to keep the peace, who used to accept the bare minimum just to feel loved, has been replaced by someone who finally understands that peace isn't something you hand out to people who once broke it. She didn't come back to face what she did. She came back to avoid the reality of what she lost. But his peace is no longer up for rent. This time, before he opens the door, he asks himself the question that matters most. Is she here to build something? Real, or just to rest in what I used to offer? And when the answer's unclear, he doesn't gamble with himself. He's learned to protect what took so long to rebuild. He's not the same man who needs her to stay. He's the man who can walk away, even when she finally wants to stay. Because he's already done the hardest thing he chose himself. He stopped being her comfort zone, stopped being the soft place to fall for someone who never caught him. And now, she's left with the silence she once gave him.